So we had this online publication, Pixel Press. We started in '99 when we were about to bomb Afghanistan after September 11th in New York, because our office is in New York, not far from the World Trade Center. We did this on our homepage to say that Afghanistan had already been bombed. Why bomb them again? And there's a picture on the right and the picture on the left I thought were almost the same picture. So instead of feeling we should bomb the people, understand that we're the same as the people. So we did this online. The office had 4 people, but many major publications, New York Times, MSNBC, and so on and so forth, linked to us because they cannot say these things and we can say these things. They have to be objective. This was again the year later in Chile on September 11th, was their horrible September 11th, the coup, the Pentagon, our September 11th. Again, I thought the pictures were almost the same. So why don't we understand and do these homepages and show the similarity and use it politically and use it to push things as opposed to pretending to be fair when in fact we're saying mission accomplished. When it's not fair at all. This was one which unfortunately resonates with this week. This was in Eastern Europe, the Dutch photographer Robert Knath and Antoinette de Jong working together, and we published this. So for example, this was the image people saw. We hid the captions behind it on the web. This is the caption. These are twin brothers. One behind is deaf, the one in the front has hydrocephalus, and we did something like 16 screens of the effects of radiation poisoning above ground testing, Chernobyl, dozens of accidents in Eastern Europe. The interesting thing, this was I think in 2005, was we became one of the 2,500 most read websites in the world, bigger than magazines like Vanity Fair. We had 500,000 readers in a week and looking at 1.5 million screens. The idea is that people are interested in these things, but somehow with all our resources of web and so on and so forth, we really don't know what's going on. We see so many things, but we see nothing at this point. So remember, the ice skaters were going to meet the next day, the future. So I said, well, why don't we use photography to show the future so it does not happen? In other words, if we're afraid of global warming, show what it's going to look like with global warming according to scientists, so it does not happen. Do not wait for the apocalypse to photograph it because it makes good pictures. Prevent the apocalypse using photography as opposed to waiting for it to happen. Again, an idea, this is something you can do digitally, but you cannot do analog. I had the idea on the 4 corners of the image, we should use each of the 4 corners so you could roll over with a mouse, with the cursor, and on the bottom right, every photographer would put the caption, the credit. On the bottom left, if you roll over, it would say what the photographer thinks of the image. Eddie Adams, who took that image, hated that image. He thinks the image is incorrect, it was used in the wrong way, that the guy had the right to shoot the Viet Cong. So it's important at that point to have a second view, because if the photography becomes not credible, then we have to make it credible, otherwise we live in a cocoon. So to make it credible, take the photographer's voice and put it there. And then if you roll over the upper left, you see the pictures before and after. So you give context. So you start to say that the photograph that's not on paper but online, with all those discrete pixels, can do something different. And the upper right would be links to other sites, to other ideas that would be interesting to look at. So again, I think we have to go further. So if it's a picture from Egypt, from Libya, from Japan, wherever it is, start to give more context to it, some more way of knowing where we're at. I have 51 seconds left. So this is a time where everybody read the same newspaper. We knew what was happening, we could talk to each other. That no longer exists. Again, I think that we do not want it to exist, because if we cannot talk to each other, there's no community. We're not worried about the same things. We do not have to respond. There was things in Tiananmen Square where the Chinese government said there was no massacre. We said there was a massacre. And somehow, with a photograph that lacks credibility, it's harder and harder to say the government is wrong and the photograph is right. It's a different world of people being involved. The idea of citizen journalism, to me, largely has to be the citizens as filters. If you're Egyptian and the pictures are coming from Egypt, You caption the pictures. You tell us what's important in the pictures. You can make pictures as well, but you know better than us what's happening. To me, that would be an appropriate citizen journalism. And finally, this is an image by Pedro Mayer. This is Pedro Mayer on the left, Pedro Mayer on the right. He's the father on the left, he's the son on the right. And what we're doing is that, to me, just two brief things. Digital photography, digital imaging is based on code. It's not an accident that we came up with a new medium based on code when we decided that we're made of DNA. It's not an accident. So one of the things what's next is to redefine ourselves as genotype instead of phenotype. Phenotype is appearance. Photography has always been phenotype. Photography is moving to genotype. And the second thing is that we've been in this is my last sentence, that we have been in a Newtonian universe with photography. The analog is cause and effect. Quantum physics is based on discrete particles. So is digital media, is based upon the discrete pixels. I think we're moving with this unconsciously into a quantum universe, into a different universe where cause and effect is different, which explains why there's less consequence, why we're not politically involved in the same way, and so on and so forth. Whatever we do, the media will always change us profoundly. We will be changed by media. Our marriages will be different. Our sense of God will be different because of media. And what I'm arguing for, that what has to be next, is that we have to understand media enough so that we guide it in ways that are healthier for us, more sane for us, instead of waiting 10 years to have the next What's Next conference and say, look what media did to us, when we made no effort at all to try to guide it in ways that make sense. Thank you very much.